Hey there, Senior Leader, and welcome to the Talent Sherpa Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Lynch, and today we're tackling a critical shift that's shaping the CHRO's role, why great CHROs must be business leaders first. You know, folks, it's interesting. Every few years, someone boldly proclaims, HR finally has a seat at the table. Honestly, I've grown to despise that phrase. It implies that HR needs special permission to strategically contribute. And yet, here's a thought. What if instead of fighting for a seat, we focused on cooking up value right in the kitchen with the CEO, CFO, and COO? What if rather than arguing over who gets a seat, we demonstrated day in and day out why we are essential in actually driving results? So I'll cut right to it. Businesses don't exist to serve HR. HR exists to serve the business. Now, that seems obvious when you say it, but if you were to glance at many HR initiatives out there, you're going to find evidence of misalignment almost everywhere. Too often, CHROs inadvertently place their department at the center, asking, how do we optimize HR instead of how do we accelerate the business? And this isn't some minor semantic shift. It's fundamental because when you start with HR rather than the business, it's like trying to win a NASCAR race by polishing your tires instead of upgrading the engine. You know, it's technically important, but it's missing the core point entirely. Now, most successful CHROs understand that HR must function as a direct lever of organizational performance. Great HR leadership isn't defined by impressive HR metrics alone, employee satisfaction, turnover rates, or even engagement. Although if you measure them wrong, it can be a vanity metric. Those are just table stakes, though. Real excellence occurs when the CHROs intentionally and explicitly connect their talent strategies directly to revenue growth, profitability, market share, customer retention. Now, this brings me to a crucial point about merit-based culture. If your HR strategy doesn't fundamentally prioritize meritocracy, you're quietly sabotaging your organization's ability to attract, retain, and fully unleash top talent. And when I say that, let's be clear. When I say meritocracy, I'm not talking about annual reviews or end-of-year bonuses that are handed out like participation trophies. I'm talking about cultures where performance, innovation, and tangible results are rewarded both transparently and consistently. Here's why this matters so much. Top performers, the kind that move the needle for your organization, they don't just casually observe how rewards get distributed. They actively audit it. They notice quickly when promotions go to the most politically savvy rather than the most impactful. They detect immediately if bonuses reward compliance instead of initiative. They feel it very keenly when organizations talk about innovation and yet punish failures in pursuit of it. And look, once top talent senses a disconnect between the organization's words and their actions, they are already half out the door. And here's the kicker. Top performers rarely warn you before leaving. Usually, the first sign of disengagement from an A player is their resignation letter. And if you're lucky, you'll get 2 weeks' notice. And if you're not, then you'll find out they've gone to your competitor when their LinkedIn update pops up. And that's going to ruin your breakfast, and no amount of cold coffee is going to fix that wake-up call. So how do CHROs bridge this gap between intention and reality? Well, it starts by becoming deeply fluent in the business strategy itself, not HR theory, not organizational psychology. Those are fundamental, no doubt, but the actual levers that drive your company's competitive edge and financial success. You don't just need to know the difference between attrition and retention. You need to understand exactly how reducing attrition in your sales force impacts market penetration and profitability. Now, imagine this scenario, if you will. Your CFO comes to you and says, we need to reduce operating expenses by 8% next quarter. The typical HR response might be to immediately start analyzing headcount reductions or spans and layers, layoffs, hiring freezes even, although those are normally firing freezes. A business-first CHRO, however, might respond completely different. They will start by diagnosing the underlying business needs. Maybe there's wasteful turnover that's quietly costing millions. Maybe the real issue is productivity lost due to unclear expectations or inefficient onboarding. Or maybe your organization keeps overpaying for external talent because internal talent is being developed and promoted effectively. Do you see how this conversation shifts dramatically. Instead of passively reacting and enabling the business, a strategic CHRO can proactively propose much more targeted solutions, initiatives that not only address the immediate financial pressures, but simultaneously strengthen long-term organizational performance. And that is the kind of alignment that CEOs crave. And when you consistently demonstrate this capability, you won't need to fight for a seat at the table. You'll practically own the table. Better yet, you'll build a newer, better table altogether. And focus on having a voice in the debate, not a seat at the table. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Now, another common misstep I see CHROs make all the time is they separate talent conversations from core business conversations. Strategic talent discussions should never be living in isolation, tucked nicely away in quarterly HR meetings or annual review cycles. They need to be integrated directly into the ongoing operational planning and regular leadership reviews. If you do a quarterly business review, it needs to be in it because, after all, if talent is the core asset driving your organization's outcomes, why the heck would you isolate it from your daily decision-making process? Now, when your senior leadership team sits down to discuss an expansion into a new market, for example, your voice needs to shape how talent aligns and supports that expansion. When your business is considering launching a new product or innovating its core technology, your talent strategy needs to be woven into that initiative from the outset, not as an afterthought. Because the reality is your best opportunities for strategic alignment, they're not found by reacting to already established plans. They are created proactively by positioning yourself as a collaborative thought partner who integrates talent strategy at the inception of the business strategy. Now, let's be real. Building this kind of strategic influence is not automatic. You don't get it with a fancy job title, impressive certifications, any of that. You earn it with business fluency. You earn it with consistent delivery, and you earn it by speaking the language of outcomes. If you show up talking purely about competency frameworks and engagement levers, other HR kind of nomenclature, your executive peers will check out faster than an accountant at an improv comedy show. You have to translate that strategy into language that deeply resonates with business priorities. So how do you do it? Here's a practical 3-step framework that you can start using immediately. First, explicitly identify the business outcomes that your CEO cares about most deeply. If you don't know, ask directly. Once you clarify those, make sure every HR initiative aligns explicitly with those outcomes. Second, define clear metrics that transparently link talent performance to rewards. Without that clarity, you breed ambiguity. Ambiguity breeds politics, and politics breeds mistrust, and mistrust drives top talent straight into your competitors' arms. Third, you need to integrate talent directly into the rhythm of your business operations. You got to move away from treating talent as a discrete HR-only conversation. Ensure it's embedded in strategic reviews, quarterly planning, budget discussions. If you're having a QBR, that's where you talk about it. And when you do it, you're going to start making an impact on the business, and you end up getting pulled into conversations earlier. Okay, friends, let's bring this home. If there's one thing I want you to remember from today, it's this. Pay attention. The role of HR and the role of the CHRO is not about managing resources. It's about leading a talent strategy that is deeply intertwined with business outcomes. Great CHROs know that their value comes not from what they do as a function, but from strategically aligning talent to drive measurable impact, revenue, profitability, growth, innovation. It's not about running a department. It's about running an essential element of the business itself. Now, to wrap this up, please know I am so grateful that you joined me today, and thank you for listening for a few minutes. If you found value here, please share it with others who might also benefit from it. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You know, that algorithm, that's how we get more listeners and now viewers. If you want to dive deeper into these topics, head on over to my Substack at talentsherpa.substack.com. That's where we dive deeper and provide more insights into navigating the future of work. And if you'd like to work with me to get ready for your first CHRO assignment, we have a cohort group starting in September with early bird discounts available through the end of July. So until next time, keep adapting, keep leading, and keep on climbing.